What if the key to a truly happier life wasn't about changing your job, your city, or your circumstances, but about changing your mindset? Today, we're going to explore a really powerful concept called hardiness. It's a way of thinking that science shows is directly linked to managing stress and finding a much deeper, more lasting kind of happiness. So, let's dive right in.
First, we've got to talk about this strange paradox of modern life. I mean, think about it. In so many ways, we have more comfort, more convenience, and more stuff than any generation before us. So why do so many of us feel, well, less happy? It's a huge question, and it gets right to the heart of what we're all looking for.
And look, this isn't just a vague feeling. The data actually backs this up. The University of Chicago's General Social Survey shows that the number of Americans reporting they're not too happy has almost doubled in just the last 10 years. That's a huge jump. It really suggests that maybe, just maybe, we're chasing the wrong kind of happiness. And to figure this out, we need to understand what's happening inside our own brains.
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we have to totally reframe what we mean by happiness. And for this, we can thank neuroscientist Dr. Robert Lustig. He makes this absolutely critical distinction between two very different feelings that we usually just lump together under that one word.
So you've got two completely different pathways in the brain for what we call happy. On one side, there's pleasure. That's driven by dopamine. It's that short-term hit, that reward signal you get. It feels great, but it's fleeting. It doesn't last. On the other side, you have contentment. This is driven by serotonin. It's that deeper, lasting feeling of well-being. So you see the difference? One's a quick fix, the other is a long-term state. The problem is, we often chase pleasure thinking it's happiness, when what our brains are really craving is contentment.
Right, so if contentment is the real goal, what's the big roadblock? Well, the number one enemy is stress. When we're chronically stressed, our bodies are flooded with a hormone called cortisol. Now, a little cortisol is fine for a fight or flight moment, but when it's always high, it does real damage. And what does it damage? It specifically goes after the brain's serotonin system, the very pathway we need for that long-term feeling of contentment.
And this right here brings us to the solution. If stress is the villain that's robbing us of contentment, how do we fight back? The answer isn't to get rid of stress. That's impossible. The answer lies in a specific psychological mindset that acts like a powerful shield or buffer against the negative effects of stress. And that mindset is called hardiness.
Now, the whole idea of hardiness actually came out of a real-world crisis. Back in the 1970s, two researchers at the University of Chicago, Susan Kobasa and Salvatore Matti, were studying executives at Illinois Bell while the company was going through this incredibly stressful breakup. And they noticed something fascinating. While a lot of the managers were getting sick and burning out, a certain group of them were actually thriving. They were healthy and still engaged. So Kobasa and Matti set out to find out why. What did that group have that the others didn't? The answer was hardiness.
So what is it exactly? Well, at its core, hardiness is a way of looking at the world that's made up of three core beliefs. It's about having a deep sense of commitment to your life, a solid belief that you have some control over what happens, and, this is the big one, a habit of seeing difficult things not as threats, but as challenges to be overcome.
All right, let's really break this down into what are often called the 3 C's of hardiness. Because once you understand these 3 components, you can actually start to build this mindset for yourself. Okay, first up is commitment. This is basically the opposite of feeling disconnected or alienated. It's about being genuinely engaged in your life, your work, your relationships, your hobbies, because you find them interesting and meaningful. Second is control. Now, this doesn't mean you have to control everything. It's simply the belief that you aren't helpless. Your actions matter and you can influence the outcomes around you. And third, we have challenge. Honestly, this one is the real game changer. It's the ability to see change and stress not as terrible threats, but as normal parts of life that actually give you a chance to learn and grow.
And I want to be clear, this isn't just some nice-sounding theory. Decades of research have shown that hardiness is a proven stress buffer. It's been studied in just about every high-stress group you can imagine, from military personnel in combat zones to nurses, teachers, and even families dealing with loss. The results are always the same. A hardy mindset predicts better health. Researcher Paul Bartone even found it made a huge difference for Chicago city bus drivers. And I mean, can you imagine a more stressful job than that?
Now, this is the most important part of this whole thing. Hardiness is not some fixed personality trait that you're either born with or you're not. The research is very clear on this. It is a set of attitudes. It's a mindset. It is a way of looking at the world that anyone, and I mean anyone, can develop with practice.
So, how do you actually do it?
Well, you can practice the 3 C's. For commitment, make a conscious effort to fully engage in what you're doing. Find the purpose in it. For control, when you're in a tough spot, just ask yourself, okay, what part of this can I actually influence? And put your energy right there. For challenge, when you hit a setback, ask, what can I learn from this? It's all about reframing those bumps in the road, not as failures, but as an essential, maybe even interesting, part of being alive.
This quote from researcher Paul Bartone just sums it all up perfectly. The real power of hardiness is in the appraisal. That's just a fancy word for how you interpret what's happening. It's that mental flip of the switch, from seeing a problem as a terrifying threat to seeing it as a challenge you can take on. That one simple reframe changes absolutely everything, all the way down to how your body physically responds to stress.
So, I'll leave you with a question to think about. Right now, what is one challenge or stressor that's active in your life? Just think about it for a second. Now, how could you apply this hardiness mindset to it? What would change if you stopped seeing it as just a threat and started seeing it as a challenge, an opportunity to learn something new, to adapt and to grow stronger?